I don't
Let's
know.
go ahead.
Yeah, it
What I
finished.
was looking at while you were saying that, the video was still playing on my screen.
I
So
had a
like,
feeling. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I wasn't sure. All right. Well, my bad. Welcome everybody. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about those technical difficulties. Seems like every time we try to do this, something happens. We got a few off without issue, and then all of a sudden, of course, that was too many. So here we are. But I want to start off by just telling everybody thank you, especially all the new followers that we've gathered in the last week. So we've really, I don't know if Facebook lifted the restriction, but we all of a sudden jump back on pace. It's not on YouTube, not on Twitch, not on well, Twitch. We don't really have a big following anyway, but on Rumble, etc. But on Facebook, for whatever reason, boom, we started, our videos started taking off again. Our followership started rolling again, and we added about 600 this week. So I want to just say thank you and welcome to anybody who is one of those 600 people. Hopefully that's a new thing, and Facebook has kind of lifted the weight from our shoulders. That at least it'll be one. But if you haven't been to our YouTube channel yet, we definitely could use your support there. We've just crossed the 910 plateau, so we are definitely looking to get to 1,000 there. But Facebook, we're good. Just keep sharing, keep reacting, etc. We appreciate it. So we already have comments flowing in here. The conversation today is on digital currency and digital currency, the Great Reset, and Article 5 as a method of how we get out of it. Because and I've been commenting, and I tried to reply to every comment that came in, Jack, but I'm telling you, there was so many. It was just like it was hard, but like I replied to a lot though. So if I didn't reply to someone out there, my bad. But Jack, just on the digital currency note, like and in that video, and I don't even know if the audio was playing with that video because it got all screwed up. But we posted that video separate anyway, so they could check it there. The woman that's speaking in there is an economist, right? And she's a she used to be a presidential advisor. They invited her to that World Economic Forum meeting, and then she went ahead and said what she said. And if someone didn't see the intro video, what she said was, "I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole new economic system of accounting," and that excuse me, she came right out like it wasn't like, well, my theory is, it was like it's coming, like they're coming with this digital currency, and they're coming hard. And that all of it's going to talked about it like it's a positive thing, right? Like these WEF creepy people do, like, and we're going to have a system where there'll be almost 100% visibility on every transaction in the economy, as if we're supposed to be like there's a round of applause coming or something. Like the crowd just sat there looking at her like, are you crazy? like what's wrong with you, right? So
Yeah.
like what's your take on this?
Well, so look, they introduce things in a very benign way, and that's how they get away with it. We the people tend to get, our panties in a ruffle when things like abortion come to the forefront, things that are immediate, things that are emotional. When it comes to something like this, we tend to go to sleep because it becomes tedious. It's long and tiresome. You're getting involved in finance. You're getting involved in a lot of areas that most of us don't understand. Why? Because we're not in the world of banking, and so we tend to start going to sleep, and we get lulled in by the tedium. And it's easy to sell because essentially you can come up with a good backstory when you're introducing this propaganda, and that backstory can be very palatable as to why a digital currency has certain positive aspects to it. And I have no doubt that it would have certain positive aspects to it.
I'm all
However,
for Bitcoin. Like I'm all
well,
for Bitcoin.
yeah, blockchain. But the point that I wanted to drive at is that regardless of what we're spoon fed, you just need to take a look at, well, where is this in action today, and what's going on, and where it's in action today is in China. And what do we know that's going on in China? We know that they are operating basis a social credit index and or a carbon type index, and you have certain credits, and when you hit those credits, that's it, you've hit your limit for the month. And so those are the concerns, not only people knowing where all the transactions are, who's done what, but when you're controlling money like that, and you're controlling the ability to spend based upon your habits, and if you're not in line with habits that they feel are productive to the environment and to society, and you step outside of those boundaries, you're penalized and you
And
have
they're
no
already
recourse.
doing it to companies, right? They're already with the ESG scores. Like people
In a
think, like we
sense,
talked
yeah.
about them at first, like ESG scores were just we talked about it only from the standpoint of the WEF implementing these ESG or coming up with those 21 metrics and the 34 sub metrics and whatever, But and if people aren't familiar, if you're new, if you're one of the newbies here, ESG is environmental, social, quote unquote, justice and governance, meaning internal governance of a company, and they're judging them on that the same way China judges citizens on like their social score. Only this applies only to companies. So like we did an episode on this on why companies are so woke. Like that's why you see Coca-Cola tell their like in a training tell their employees don't be so white. That's why you see Disney on its pedophilia run. Well, although Disney is creepy, I think Disney was creepy even before ESG
Yeah,
scores.
so
But
do
like,
I. But
yeah,
it's, go woke or go broke. That's the message from Wall Street, right? We have trillions of dollars in
yeah,
funds and we have investments in your company. Our investors believe in that certain conditions should exist within society, and if you are not meeting those conditions, we're going to consider pulling our funding, which is exactly why Elon Musk, if he ever did purchase Twitter, would want to take that company private and get it away from the threat
right.
of ever powerful Wall Street.
Yeah, I mean the big four came up with these metrics. So Klaus Schwab will tell you that. That's not conspiracy theory. He brags about having called in the major four investors. We know who they are: BlackRock, Deloitte, Ernst and Young, and what is it?
Right.
PCW, right? Or so and in the end they're the biggest financial firms there are, and they're not
Right.
owned by black, they're private firms, but they control billions of investment dollars. So and aside from them you've got Bank of America, etc. So like, and all of these people are going to be on board. On the cover I made up that fictitious IMF coin for the International Monetary Fund. That's a very real possibility. You can go ahead. Even Google will show you that because they're bragging about it now. That the IMF is seriously working on coming up with a global standard coin of digital currency, and then that's where it falls. And then that ties in with the digital ID that they want to create. All of this is listed. We're at a point now where you know it's impossible to see, right? Like if this was 5 years ago, this little slogan we have of "once you see, you can't unsee," like it would have been less impactful than it is now. Because now they're telling you, they're bragging about it, they openly talk about it, they have conferences about it, they upload it to YouTube. Like you could go and see them and listen to them tell you in their own words, not what they're thinking, but what they've already planned. I mean, let's not forget this stuff to some people is not new, right? Like this stuff, they're only coming clean with it and kind of broadly announcing it in 2020, but it's not necessarily new. They've been planning this for some 50 years. All that whole 50 years as information is leaked out, people have come out and said, "Hey, you got to hear this." They want to scream at the highest mountain and tell the world, and myself included back then. I mean, you look at 10, 15 years ago, get out of here. Like, oh yeah, New World Order. Yeah, they're going to take over America. Yeah. And it's like now you realize not only have they really been planning it for that long, but now they're like bragging about it. Like to put out a poster that says you will own nothing and be happy is next level creepy. Like, if you think you could put that out without society going crazy, by the way, which they did, right? They put it out and society did not go crazy. It stayed out. That went out in like 2017 and totally flew under the radar. So like this is not something that, like, it's not until 2020 when they really started talking about it, because they saw COVID as the ignition switch, so to speak, to start getting things moving, that people really caught on to this stuff and saw it. But yeah, we got Adrian Brown. I had this up for a while. He says it's funny how conspiracy theories are coming true, and the past few years are really showing it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Adrian. And I'll tell you, not only are they coming true, but when you go back and look, even if you just started 2020, but like I said, it goes further than that, right? These people have been trying to tell us forever, and we weren't listening. But even if you just look at 2020, let's look at what all the conspiracy theorists said and what the official message was. Because the official message on virtually every single issue that had to do with COVID ended up being either wrong or just a bold-faced lie. Like they had to recant, they had to take it back, and that's after banning people like us and others who were trying to, I mean, the Wuhan lab, right? Like we were posting, not to the channel. Actually, I think we did discuss it on the channel. The Epic. Oh no, we didn't. We didn't have the channel in 2020. It was 2021. Epic Times did that piece almost in April, because they've got their thumb right on China. They did their piece on the Wuhan lab source right from the beginning, like April 2020. And they got banned from YouTube. Anybody who talked about it got banned from YouTube. Everybody, like, YouTube was just whacking people right and left. And then, a year later, it's like, oh yeah, maybe there was something to that, right? The laptop story, that's another, like, over and over and over. But just getting back to the digital currency, like, they also have that digital ID piece, and that's kind of the vision that they have, is that everybody gets a digital ID, and it's a biometric ID. So and you use it basically for everything, for entry into buildings, for to purchase something, to whatever, and it all rolls up and is traceable by the government, every bit of it. I mean, that to me is just lunacy. So, like, you know that's just how I see it. And we got Pedro Tavares. They make the pandemic, and the stupid repression, and killed many people with the vaccines. Yeah, for Make the Reset. So yeah, and look, whether they made the pandemic or not, they definitely took advantage of it, right? Never
Yeah.
let a crisis go to waste. And like, all you ever hear them talk about, I mean, I'm open to listening to people talking about pandemic. Like I don't think it's absurd. You know what I mean? I don't. I mean, I definitely think the leak is real. I definitely think it came from the Wuhan lab. But whether or not it was just incompetence from China, because let's face it, we've had our own leaks, right? Like Obama, we had a leak with something similar, years back with this gain of function research, and Obama saw it and was like, you know, what the hell are you people doing?
Yeah, and he
Like,
shut it down.
yeah, and he shut it down because he's a human being and he realizes that these people are psychotically mad scientists. Like, why on earth would you try and do gain of function research? Like, it's the argument for it is so weak that only a mad scientist could make sense of that. Let me just grab a couple comments here, Jack, and then
Sure.
we'll try and respond. So Kate Gaffey, she put up a link, so we can't do the links, but they're going to sell all of they're going to sell all of us and your children. I'm guessing you mean that as a metaphor. Um, they don't want to do harm to us per se. And I will say this: the whole depopulation thing doesn't seem to be washing out with what these guys actually want to do. Like what they want, because they need the population, because that's their, you need consumers, right? If you're going to own everything, which is what they're going to do, right? If they're saying you will own nothing and be happy, well, everything still exists, so someone owns it. You can bet it's going to be them, and in the end, if you own everything, you need people to consume it. So this is what they're trying to do with this great reset, and I agree with Glenn Beck in this way, and he wrote this in his book, is that it's Marxism, don't get it twisted, but it's like Marxism 2.0. Like, they know Marxism is an epic failure in and of itself. So they're trying to create a masquerade of capitalism in front of it. Like they're trying to put the illusional window of capitalism in front of it. So like you'll still wait, it's not like Marxism where everyone's doomed in a sense where you're literally like the streets, are filled with poverty and whatever. It's just everyone's under control. So like they allow you to work, like you still get up in the morning in their world, you still go to work in the morning, you still, it's just your means of income are controlled by the government, everything. But they've got this new monetary theory now, new monetary modern monetary theory. And we did the episode on that too with that Stephanie Klein who's out there. She's like the main speaker for it, talking about how they can just, if you're the world's leading currency, you can just print and print and print and print, and it doesn't matter as long. And if the only thing that could happen is potential inflation, which is what we're seeing now, and if that happens, their philosophy is not to stop spending, but to stop the people from spending, right? And just use taxes, which begged the question, right? Well, what do you need taxes for if you could just keep printing money? And her answer was, you don't. You don't need taxes, technically. But she's like, you need taxes just so that you can continue to keep it. I mean, she explained it in a more technical sense, but really, what she was pointing to is that you need taxes to keep the illusion going. Like if we want people to lessen their spending because we're giving out universal basic incomes and we're giving out, and we're controlling the entire thing. Well, if inflation does happen, how do you just tell the people to stop spending? So, well, you do that by raising taxes and making things unaffordable and et cetera. And then, once the spending calms down, they can go back to printing all their money again. And it's like, and it's going to end in the same doom that Marxism does. It's going to end in the same doom. No.
Are you looking for another comment?
Yeah, jump in.
Oh, no, I didn't mean for me. I
Oh,
didn't
no,
know if
I'm
you were
always
looking for
looking
another
for
comment.
comments. Yeah. I'm
You said
always
you wanted
looking
to
for
answer a
comments.
couple.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm always looking for comments. So, no, what can we do to stop it, Lorna? So, Lorna, go ahead. Jack, you hit it. You know where
Yeah.
this is going.
Yeah, sure. So Lorna, one of the things that George and I have been focusing in heavily on over the last year is Article 5 of our Constitution. Now, a lot of people that are familiar with what George and I talk about, they know this already, but for your benefit and some others that are out there that may not know this. So, Article 5 of the Constitution is the means by which amendments are made to the Constitution. To date, we've had 27 amendments to our Constitution. Each and every one of those amendments has been proposed by Congress and ratified, meaning agreed upon, by a majority of the states. And that's how the Constitution is amended. For example, the 16th Amendment, the federal government initiated taxation. Before that, we never paid any federal tax. So, and that was unconstitutional, but that's a whole nother story. There is a second method, Lorna, to proposing amendments to the Constitution, and that is through a majority of states that get together. And what they need to do is they need to sit down and they need to say, what do we want to amend? And they have to be specific to a degree. The topic has to be specific. And that topic has to be shared from state to state to state among a majority of states. So what happens, for example, is here in Georgia, I'm sure you've picked up on my Georgian accent already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in Georgia, the state legislation gets together and says, we want to amend the Constitution so that we can limit the term for federal employees, term limits. Now, the majority of states need to pass the same resolution. Once we have 34 states that do that, agree on what they want to do, then they go to Congress and say, Congress, you have to call for a convention of states. Congress, according to Article 5, calls for the convention of states. They get together.
Call, right? That's
Yep.
the language they use. Congress shall call the convention. So there's no choice for Congress there.
Correct. And so the states get together They hammer out the details, and if they make an amendment, then it gets ratified by the states.
Yeah,
However, the
they'll
states
propose
are
it, right? So
I'm sorry?
they'll propose the amendment. You said
They'll
make,
pro
but like I know what you meant, but like if someone doesn't understand the
g
thing,
got it, okay. And so, long story short, Lorna, we're really pressing for people to get together, press their state legislators, and get Article 5 moving. We have 19 states on board right now. We need 34. We'll probably come in around 25 or 26 by the end of this year. Um, there's nothing that says we couldn't get them all. I mean, as George always says, Joe Biden's our biggest help. I
heck
mean,
yeah,
the more he throws
or
out there, and
Brandon.
the more that it turns your stomach, the more you might want to do something about it. So, really, what we need more than anything else is people to listen to what we're saying and spread that word, get behind it, and take some action. Otherwise, if you just sit back and you're sleeping and, oh, what are we going to do, and you complain about it, it's too late. We do
Yeah,
have a way to do something, and that
we do.
something is significant. There's no other country in this world that has that type of opportunity. We are the last bastion of hope, and that is not an understatement by any means.
That's what Yuri Bezmenov said, right? He's like, unlike
I
me,
believe
you
he
will have
did.
nowhere left to defect to.
Yeah, he'll have nowhere left to defect to. He was a defector from Russia, KGB, and he talked to us about this, and we've played that video many times. But Lorna, I hope that answers your question, and if not, please communicate with us directly through the chat or send us an email. We'd love to get you more involved into the Convention of States, and first getting you educated. Quite frankly, George and I were not sold on the Convention of States at the beginning. What we did was we tried to poke a whole bunch of holes in it until we
What
got
we
to the
do.
point yeah. And I remember the day I brought it to you, George, and you were like,
Yep.
blah, blah." And I'm
Get
like,
out
George,
of
just
here.
listen to me. Yeah. And he's being his typical cynical New Yorker, and he already knew the answers. And I'm like, George, look, let's look. And now look at him. I mean, you
And it's
can't
funny
turn him
too,
off
because
when it comes to Article 5.
and now we got a comment from Steven Knudsen, and if I'm taking it correctly, says we can't allow the Democrats to destroy the Constitution. So, as someone who advocates convention of states, I'm going to take that as meaning you're concerned about a runaway convention. So, and if it's not, if it's you just saying they're destroying the Constitution because they're destroying the Constitution, then let me know. But I am gonna use this as an opportunity to kind of hit that because I'm about to put a bunch of videos out on that today in a few days, Jack. So I think that this is a good opportunity to hit that because a lot of people feel that way, and so did we, right? Like when you said I didn't believe you at first, and both of us kind of tried to poke holes in it, and some of the holes you're able to poke in it in the very beginning is this theory. And there's this Publius Hulda and American Freedom Society and a bunch. Then there's a bunch of Soros groups, John Birch Society, who everyone thinks is a conservative group, but then they align with the Soros movement. Like you hear from all these people what really it takes further research to realize is nonsense. But when you first hear it, you think it's true, and that's that our first convention was a complete runaway convention. And there are there are actually some people, some PhDs out there who agree with this madness. And I don't take that to be mean much because PhDs today, there are so many idiots that hold PhDs today. I mean, Harvard is just putting the most civically idiotic human beings, pumping them out one after the other, that anybody below Harvard must be doing it at an even higher level. But like, and I did a whole video on this, so I don't want to harp on it too much. But if you go and read Federalist Paper 40, all right, so don't listen to an article, don't listen to me, don't listen to, don't even listen to the Convention of States people, don't listen to Publius Hulda, listen to James Madison, because in that Federalist paper, he goes ahead and explains in detail why the convention was not a runaway convention, and why any assertion that it was is ridiculous. And to make the, I mean, I went through quotes and everything in that video, but just to give you the high level, what he told them was, you gave us two commissions. One was to preserve the Articles of Confederation, and the other one was to form a firm central government, a firm national government. Now, if anybody knows anything about the Articles of Confederation, the entire purpose of the Articles of Confederation were to not have a firm central government. So, and he clearly, you can read it for yourself. It's not a long read, but he breaks down the fact that it was going to be one or the other no matter how we did this. We could have disregarded the ends and stuck with the means and keeping the article, but never have a firm national government, or we could have accomplished the ends and not worried about the means. And that would be to preserve Article 5. I mean, to preserve the Articles of Confederation. So it was not a runaway convention. That alone is a myth. And the fact is, this is not a constitutional convention. This is a
Yeah.
convention under a constitution. So there was no constitution that they were working off of then. And when you just heard what the commission was to form a firm national government, we have a firm national. It's too firm, right? Like the national government's too firm. We're on the other end of the spectrum here. So they gave us Article 5 that literally went in 2 days before the convention ended, and it went in because George Mason stepped up and was like, "Hey, are you guys seriously telling me that you trust the federal government to propose amendments should the federal government run out of control, as Madison said he verily believed, that's a quote, would happen? And he said, do you really believe that they're going to propose amendments to restrict their own power? And if you, I wish there were video cameras back then, because I guarantee you the whole room just had like an aha moment. And how do I know that? Because it's the only thing that passed in the Constitution in that entire convention with no debate. It's the only thing that all the founders like just rolled with, and we're like, you know what, George, this time you're right. And Mason was like a bad fly on the wall, but like, he was that annoying guy that kept speaking. But this time they were all like, that makes a ton of sense. And they wrote in the Convention of States option for this very reason. And that's why it was never used until now. And it hasn't been used yet, but it will be, right? Because they've
Yeah.
been waiting. It's got one purpose. It's only got one reason, one purpose, and that's to restrict the power of the federal government. Everything else that we've ever amended and done, we were all in agreement on. Well,
Well,
maybe not the 16th,
here's
17th.
the thing too. Just jumping in. So, kind of framing that further. You know, the United States has always been the fly in the ointment, so to speak, as far as globalism is concerned, and a lot of that has centered around our democracy and the way that we run this country. They knew full well that trying to infiltrate the United States to go global would be one heck of a chore because of the way that we have our system of checks and balances. But lo and behold, as time has gone by, we've seen a conversion within our government more now than ever, and they're pushing that envelope at the judicial level, at the level of Congress, the presidential level, and they're literally coming out and defying our Constitution. What do we have left? Well, we have the Second Amendment, and then we have words, which is Article 5,
Hey,
and
Jack,
they fear
Jack, I'm
both.
sorry, but Lorna just asked a question about getting active, saying she'd like to get involved. Where do you send your email on here? Lorna, you can go to our website. There's a link for it, or you can go directly to www.conventionofstates.com. There'll be a spot there for you to sign the petition. Just go ahead and click the link, put in your address. They'll locate automatically your local representative, and then from there, they will send a letter on your behalf. Now, it's an email, right, that they'll send on your behalf to let your representative know, your local representative in your state legislature, let them know that you're supporting Convention of States. And then what will happen from there is that the actual organization, Convention of States Action, will call you. And we went through this experience. They'll give you a call, and what they're going to do is ask you to they're just going to talk to you for a little bit and see what you can do, right? Are you working full time? You got 3 kids, your husband's working full time, or whatever the family structure situation is, whatever your business situation is. They're going to figure out what kind of time you can invest, and then and from there, find a good spot where you can help out. Maybe it's as simple as just writing handwritten letters, to these legislators, or maybe you could be a social media warrior, or there's a lot of different ways that you can help, but it all starts with signing the petition. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not a petition like, these flaky petitions out there that don't go anywhere. These petitions are used to petition your state legislatures. So, and local state legislatures understand numbers matter. So, right, Jack, you posted that, in one of your videos recently, I saw you put up like some of the examples that we talk about, where like the state legislator is standing there and he's like holding a paper in his hand. He's like, got an email from my constituent today that said blah, blah, blah. Like, and they'll
Hmm.
be like, I got a phone call today. I had a constituent stop by my office today. State legislators are a whole different animal. They're a
They
whole
really
different
are.
animal.
They really are. You can talk to them and you can influence them, and there's no doubt about that. I've heard some naysayers say, well, they just have aspirations to get into Washington. Well, hey, I'm not really sure I buy into that at all. Well, you can't take a whole body of the state legislature and say, oh, all of them want to go to the Senate or want to go to Congress. First of all, it's not enough spots. But anyway,
And
um,
most of them don't.
most of them
Like,
don't. Yeah.
yeah,
And but they're just, a lot of them are regular people. They have other jobs. They don't get paid a lot of money to do what they're
right,
doing. And
right.
basically, Lorna, just so you know, you could also be one of the people that sits down in front of your state legislators representing convention of states and talk to them about why you feel it's important. Really depends on you, your personality, your background, but there's a lot of things that you can do. Other things you can do is, first and foremost, though, the first thing you can do is invest your time and convince yourself that it's the right thing to do or not. There is no power greater than conviction. If you walk around and you're just trying to sell a pair of shoes to somebody and you've never worn them or walked in them, you know, ah, take you with a grain of salt. But walk in the shoes of the Convention of States for a bit, learn about it a little bit, and then see how you feel about it. And if you're behind it, now you have the power of a preacher, right? And that's the point that John George and I have gotten to. You know,
We just met.
we just met. Yeah, yeah, he's a John to me. Um, that was weird. Um, yeah, but anyway, the fact
Yeah,
of the
and
matter,
we got Anthony here. He says gas is crazy in New Jersey at 4.75 a gallon. Yeah, Anthony, come to California for a little while, would you? We're over $6 here. Like I love when people tell me how expensive gas is, and I look at it and I'm like, man, I wish I was paying that. I
yeah,
mean, it's all relative to the state, but like, yeah, Jersey is my whole family lives in Jersey, so my brother was just yapping about that, about how crazy the gas prices are, and I was like, but I mean, that's what we're into, right? That's what but this is all connected. Like the gas prices are all connected, like all of it, like all of it. I'm reading these articles saying, oh, it's just a coincidence that 20 food plants blew up. One of them sold hot pockets. Why would they do it to and it's like, I don't think they understand it. Like, not maybe not all 20, but like the idea that they act like that's a normal thing. Like there wasn't a meat packing plant that had set on fire, but for 19 years before the first Tyson one went up, and then 2 years later, their second biggest plant went up. And I'm
you
like,
know, I
that stuff's not a coincidence. I'm saying it could be. Look, I don't want to rule out. I'll wait and see. But I think each one of those things gets investigated at an individual basis. Like I don't think any of them that like the firefighters, et cetera, like they're used to investigating things just for what they are. Unless they're going into it with the idea that, hey, there could be there could be more to this, then they're never going to even investigate that way. But I'll
yeah,
leave the verdict out, because that combined with bird flu, like all of these, like this novel
the
bird flu
baby
virus just
formula,
came out. Yeah, like it's like, what?
all of it.
There's only so much coincidence I'm willing to stomach before I start asking serious questions and I want to know what's going on. But like honestly, just to keep just to go to the to get back to convention of states. I'm a million times more. I don't know why I said nine. I'm a million times more focused on Article 5 than I am on these food plants going up, because there's nothing I can do to stop some random dude, who they pay inside a food plant to set a fire and make it look like an accident. Or like, even if the whole thing is true, like there's nothing I could do to stop that. Like with like, this is why we don't do episodes on like Biden falling down the stairs, or like, like there's certain things that we know the world's a messed up place. And that, we know that there's a lot of, crazy stuff going on, and we do report on a lot of it, but in the end, there's one solution to fix like 80% of it. Like Article 5 right now, this one convention that we're calling, the topics are broad enough to hit big enough issues to make sweeping changes, but they're not everything, right? Like, I'd love to see the 17th Amendment appealed, and let the local legislators start appointing senators again. I'd like to see that happen, right? Where they can just pull them when they act like dootaroos. There's what did he say? Like, what did Romney say? Get him back in, like, pull him out of there, right? Like it's like, you throw him out of the game kind of thing. Like, that's the way it was set up originally. People don't even know that. People think
Yeah.
that like we've always voted for senators. Like, no, we haven't. Like, the system is specifically set up. Local legislators were designed, and still are, the most powerful entity in this country. It is not the president. It is not the Supreme Court. It is not the Congress. It is none of them. It is the local legislator. That's the way things ran when the Constitution was written. When they didn't put a Bill of Rights in it, the local legislature said, no, we're not dealing with that. Put it in, or we're not ratifying it. They put it in. Really, that was that was like the first Article 5 convention, really. They just never had to actually hold it. Nor will we, once we get one through. Like if we get this through and we impose term limits, and we're putting shackles on them all over the place. You can't spend more than you take in. You're out of here in 4, 6, whatever years. Yep, that includes you, SCOTUS, and deep state. All these, like, once the shackles are thrown on them and we flex that power, we don't, like, we'll try and flex it again, but like, something tells me that as soon as we just threaten to do it, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 states get out, like, if they see it starting to move, they're just going to take action the same way they did with the Bill of Rights. Like they knew that nothing was getting done without a Bill of Rights, and
Yeah.
so hence they just did it.
Not only are your local legislators the most powerful legislators in the United States, but also the most powerful law enforcement are your local sheriffs. And that's one thing that you shouldn't forget either. It's very important to understand who your local sheriff is and what their position is on a variety of topics. And you can choose what those topics are, but I think we all know what some of the problems are out there. How do they feel about gun control? That's very important. How they feel about illegal immigration, a variety of topics like that. These local sheriffs have a lot of power. And you can tell when you read stories about, some of the sheriffs in Arizona, some of the sheriffs that are in Texas that take action. So we do have quite a bit of control on our side. We just have to make sure that we continue to reach out to the local representatives, reach out to local sheriffs and so forth, and understand their position. And if their position is not aligned with us, then to remove and replace them through a voting process. And
Yeah, like,
and put
everybody's so fired up about Trump, and it's like that's not even where your biggest focus should be.
yeah,
Like it's not even where your biggest focus should be. If you really want to take back control of this country, doesn't matter if Trump gets elected. Yeah, I said it. It doesn't matter if Trump gets
yeah,
elected. All right. If Trump gets elected, you don't take control of this country. You just get stomped on less than you would if Biden or anybody else, one of these other doodadoos are in control. But like, in the end, it's not. It's not because Trump doesn't want to, or whatever. It's because the president can't. He just can't. And it's just that simple. And state legislatures can. And it's a huge difference between the two. And it really requires, like, most of what we're going through now as a people is a complete re-education that's self-imposed. Like, what the mainstream media is BS, and all of the garbage that's been pumped into our head through schools, and these fake ass PhDs that have been pumping out of these colleges and retraining other PhDs for decades. All right. All of these people that are out there, you got PhDs now teaching 1618 project like it's a real thing. All right. This is what it's been devalued to. Okay. And in the process of all of us trying to learn, we have to reteach ourselves. We got to like relook at our constitution and our government and how it was supposed to work, and really get into, and this is what Jack and I have done, is that we really started reading, the founders and what they wrote, because you can't believe anybody anymore. I mean,
Well,
in
and
God we
here's the other
trust, right? Everyone else pay cash.
yeah,
Like,
the other part of it too, George, the other part of it too is that people have been lulled into this belief that they don't have any power, right? That everything is out of their control. And you know
like the
what? You
problems are
can't.
so big
Well, they
that, like,
are.
how do we fix it?
And yeah, and you can't, let's face it, you can't stand up against a tank and flex your chest and hope that that's not, that round's not going to pierce you. It's going to blow you to pieces. That's not the type of control that we have. What we have is we have something far greater, something more powerful than that tank. If we align together and form that common bond and move forward on a common cause. So that common cause really is Article 5. I'd like to
It
touch
is.
back on that sheriff piece again too, because I was just thinking that we did a story or live session, and we talked a little bit about the movie 2000 Mules, right? So at the end of it, we're looking for a solution. What can we get out of a movie like 2000 Mules other than get upset? Well, what we can get out of it is that we have the ability to take some type of action. Now, what is that action? Well, that action is going to your local sheriff, your local DA, and saying, hey, the FBI, the CIA, they're not going to, well, not CIA, but the FBI, the Department of Justice, they're not
Yeah,
going to be
they're not doing
pursuing
it.
these guys, right?
That's like asking the state set like the given like Georgia's Secretary of State. That's like asking him to investigate it. It's like you're
Yeah,
the one that's gonna go falling down, and when this thing comes to light. Like, why would I ask you?
yeah, without
Like,
a doubt. And so going back to look at the local level is where we can find out who those mules are. And you know what? That's being done right now in 2 states. I don't remember the name of the states. I read so many articles; it's tough to retain it all. As sure as that everyone else, but that it's tough to retain it all. But there's 2 states right now that are really pressing to try and find out who their share of the mules were and then pressure them to find out who's their uplink, right?
right.
And so that's why
That's what we
George and I
count
are
on.
always, yeah, we drive at, look, we have power more than you know. We don't have it individually, we have it collectively. George
And
and I
we're
are
all in
doing this,
agreement with this.
huh?
We're all in agreement with this, right? What were the numbers they
Yeah,
put? It was like 55% of Democrat voters, even not
yeah.
Democrat politicians, but Democrat voters are in support of these three amendments. Like, these amendments are in a place where they can pass. Like there's enough citizenry on all sides where it can pass. That the agreement is there. It's not a partisan thing, right? It's Americans versus Marxists, and Americans are in favor of this. So it's only the generations that it's stuck, this grooming, that they're. Like, we got someone here from Winnipeg, Manitoba. How we doing? How we doing, Carol? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Hey, if anybody's one of the latest ones, one of the 600 people or so, maybe even 700 by now, that it's moving so fast, that joined in the last week or so, where it looks, at least for the moment, knock on wood, that the shackles have been lifted and we're allowed to grow again. make sure everybody's sharing this stuff. Make sure you're putting the content out. Whenever you see a video pop, make sure you share it, because really that's how we end up taking off. Like, I mean, we were crushing it on YouTube, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And it's like, all right, I get it. Like, I know the game now. I understand it from the inside. But you know what? Even organically, we're still pushing forward there. Like even with them trying to not distribute and do whatever, it's like we'll have like a 30% impression rate, but yet they don't put it in front of anybody.
Yeah, and we got a call from the convention of states, and they let us know that there were a lot of people signing up underneath our code. So what happens if we have you go to our website and you join convention of states through that, then there's a code, I believe, that's tied to us, and they can track how many people we send there. Now, we don't really spend much time doing that either way. We're not looking for any accolades from convention of states. We just want people to sign up. So most of the time we tell you just to go straight there. But the point is that if you look at what George said and the way that sometimes we get held back by social media, the fact of the matter is people are getting the word. And as a result of our conversations, they are signing up for a convention of states. So don't think that it can't happen. The more that you can share our message and get it out there, and more importantly, get involved and make your own personal impact, the better off we're going to be. And that's really what this whole thing is about. It's about getting people involved, because there are so many people that feel helpless out there. And
Yep.
you know what? There's days that I feel helpless. I don't know about you, George, but there's days when I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going on.
They're used to. They're used to, honestly. But like now I'm like I'm so fired up lately, dude, that
Yeah,
like
no.
like I'm just on another level right now. Like I've never been like this. I've always considered myself to be a patriotic dude, and like always kind of, fired up about America. Even when I was an idiot and I was supporting stupid stuff like the Patriot Act and whatever, like I was all in, right? I was all in. I was on the right's, mass formation, right? like you got the Marxists taking over the left, and then you've got the same dirty dogs, doing grimy stuff on the right. And it's like I was just buying everything. Every can of soup they put out there, I put in a bowl and ate. But that's over now. I've eaten my humble pie, and I'm over it. And now I'm fired up. And now, now I see the path. Like the path to me is very clear. It's very clear, and I am more than happy to go at it toe to toe with anyone who wants to throw out this runaway convention nonsense. If you're watching right now and you still aren't sure about the runaway convention piece, follow, subscribe, whatever you're watching through. If you're watching this on Twitch, or then subscribe, or Rumble or YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, follow. But like I'm about to do a series that just absolutely goes to work on these articles, because I'm the ones that get written about this. So it drives me freaking insane. And each one of them is going to have a rant intro, just so you know. Because
Yeah.
that's how I feel about the topic. And we got Evan here, who is not Evan. I remember you, sir. I know that you're a regular. Greetings from Kazakhstan. Now, long live democracy, the free market enterprise way of life. So, just to point out, we do have like a good scattering of a global following, which was kind of shocking to me as people who advocate Article 5 so often. But, there is a part of me, though, a lot of what we talk about, though, obviously impacts the world, right? Like the Great Reset piece, like they're going after everybody. It's not just the US. And they're actually further advanced in other countries than they are in the US, as crazy as that sounds to an American. But like in the end, like I truly believe this in my heart, that like once the United States gets it right, and we reject this and take our country back and rebuild our dollar, and give the world another standard to work with, a serious dollar standard, not this fictitious one made through politics and whatever. Once that happens, like this entire Marxist movement dies. Like once that happens, like I feel like we're the ones, man. Like we're the last stand. If we fall, that's it. There, like Yuri Bezmenov said, there's nowhere left to defect to. Like everyone else will be vulnerable at that point and will fall. Like it'll
Yeah.
be a domino effect,
All you
and the
have to
world
do is
then will
look.
be run by China. and
Yeah.
and and it's a dirty, dirty world to think about. Like that's
All you
how
have to
much
do
is
is
at stake.
yeah, you just look at places like Australia, right? Look at places like China. I mean, who do they point out at the World Economic Forum? Who does Bill Gates point out to say, "Oh, what a model country for the way they handled the pandemic"? They point to China. They point to
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah.
The
Well,
places
Jack, they're telling you they're still looking at us and gaslighting us right to our face as if they didn't create this economic crisis, as if COVID did.
right, right.
Like
Well,
we're
no,
too
it was a
dumb
very
to figure out that they're the ones that made us shut down the businesses. They're the ones that made us freaking do all the, run around, walk around faceless. Like they're the ones that made us do this.
yeah.
They created this crisis, just like they're creating every crisis down the line.
Well, it's fear. It's fear, and they've created a ton of mental health issues through fear. They've created a ton of mental health issues as a result of keeping children home from school, not socially interacting. So um, some of the the pieces that I'm going to be putting out, George is going to be putting out pieces that are going to be centered around Article 5. And I'm going to be putting out a few pieces about things that are going to be, I think, a little shocking to a lot of people. And one of the pieces I'm going to do, believe it or not, is called "On the Rape Trees," and that's that word rape, RAPE, rape trees. These are along the borders of Mexico, and I think you'll be shocked to see what's happening in Mexico. And I won't go into too much detail, but it is going to be like it sounds when I say rape tree. Okay. And I have photographs and everything of that and what's going on down there and some video. And the fact of the matter is, why am I going to do a piece like that? Well, because it's also important to understand that when our president and his minions talk about their concern and their love for America and Americans and for humanity. And yet, the UN is setting up camps from Brazil to maybe not Brazil, but all throughout Central America up into Mexico to shelter people that are they are they are experiencing such harm. I mean, there are children being murdered. There are women being assaulted, children being assaulted. And yet our government and the UN talks about being humanitarian when they've put this wheel in motion. And so why even know that? Is it just about getting upset? No. It's to understand the duplicity of it all and what you're really fighting about. It's not just about saving your own butt. This is something that, if it's not clear to you, they really don't care about people. Okay? They don't care about lives.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's going to come back to you and your children and your grandchildren if we don't do something about it. And that's why
absolutely.
I'm doing pieces like that.
And now you're making me. Thanks for like ruining my Article 5 high. I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you.
That's
So
all right. It's.
no, it's 100% true, Jack. And like I love the stuff that you do because like I've been very heavy on Great Reset. I've been very heavy on obviously Article 5, but in the end, like there are a lot of tragedies going on in the world right now. And we're not just being gaslit on Article 5 or gaslit on Great Reset. Like we're being gaslit across the board. Like
Hmm.
there's just like the stories you pick out, Jack, like I read all the time. I stay as current as I humanly can, and I have no idea how you find these stories. Like you just come out and are like, what I found from this article here, and then it took me down a rabbit hole. And next thing you know, and I'm just like that's crazy. Like even that last one with the 800 million. Where are we spending $800 million? Like I didn't hear that anywhere. Like, I didn't hear that
Oh,
anywhere until you said that. Like I'm sure it was out there. I'm sure you found it somewhere, but
yeah.
it's not something that came across my desk. Like I had no idea. So like stuff like that, like I love to see those videos come out because, and it's no shock that they do well because everyone's probably thinking the same thing I am. Like what the, like what? Like you say what? But like Evan says here, now mind you, Evan just let us know greetings from Kazakhstan, but he's like he understands too that Biden and his administration are partly responsible for every casualty in Ukraine. We've said this a million times. They're more than a little responsible. They're 100%. Well, not 100% because obviously Putin is doing the evil, right? So poking the bear doesn't change the fact that the bear ate you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, poking the bear, that was intentional, right? Like what NATO did and still does, but by continuing, like not that it's not that Ukraine can't be in NATO, shouldn't be in NATO. It's just right now, like it's not worth World War III, right? And that's what it comes down to. Like it's not worth World War III. Like Ukraine was not like yeah, there was always the threat of Putin, but like why would NATO want to poke him? They know what the action was going to be. They send Kamala Harris down there hackling away with her stupid laugh and talking about, while things are hot, like while like Putin's like rattling the saber and saying like, you guys better back off, just back off. And they send her down there knowing she's going to do something stupid. And she was probably instructed to. And now how many people now like you've got every Ukrainian citizen having to fight for their lives because these animals play these sick games in elite land, and it's just you sit here and you watch it and you're just like what the hell, like that Ukrainian parliament woman who was like saying like we know we're not just fighting for Ukraine, we're fighting for the new world order for democratic countries. Like that woman probably believes that. Like she probably thinks that there's something legitimate about this new world order. Like to her it doesn't sound creepy. You know what I'm saying? Well, she would never say it, right? So like but that's what that's the kind of stuff, like that's why you get these clips of these people saying stuff that you're like I can't believe they said that, like Biden wouldn't, well maybe Biden would, but I was gonna say
Yeah.
Biden wouldn't say that. And I'm like well like someone was talking to him about it in a room next door and the next thing you know it's just like what we can't talk about that. Like after he's done going worldwide global viral with the friggin' saying new world order. But yeah, it's a trip. But here's Carol McGann. When the USA joined the freedom movement during the trucker movement, we got to combine as united as North American continent. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Like honestly, there's always been a little friendly banter between Canadians and Americans. Are Canadians nicer than Americans? Americans are not as nice, whatever. But like, yeah, now we're all in the same club, right? The whole global, even Evan out in Kazakhstan, like we're all in the same boat now. Like they're gonna take it from everybody, and in the end, again, I still find that if the USA, the people of the USA, not Trump, not DeSantis. Yeah, God bless DeSantis for all the great stuff he's doing. He's fighting the good fight for the people in Florida. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure if he became president, he'd fight the good fight as much as a president can fight that fight. But like in the end, the people who like again, it comes to the people that put more people like DeSantis in and whatnot. But like at the same time, those are not the people that are going to save us. They can't. There's only so much they can do, right? Like in the end, the American people, right now, this generation, we get this right. When this thing goes through, just wrap your head around, put yourself in the United States of America post convention of states, right? And let's assume, because there's no guarantees, even if we call the convention, that all the amendments we want are going to go through, right? Because they could not. Maybe they're able to block the ratification, right? Maybe we can't. We don't know yet. There's still unknowns. But let's assume that it all goes through. Let's assume that we impose term limits on all federal officials. We now Congress has to pass a balanced budget, right? So they cannot spend more. And my favorite that Mark Meckler mentioned in passing, like it wasn't the most important thing in the world, was the single subject amendment, where any bill written needs to be on one subject. Which if you don't know the significance of that, that means all the pork is gone, right? Because if you don't understand how it works, what they do is they'll pass the veterans one is the one that pisses me off the most. They'll pass a veterans bill, and then both sides do this, by the way. So this is not a Biden dig. This isn't everybody dig. And they always use veterans bills, which is what pisses me off. They pass a veterans bill, whether it's more money to the VA more money for veteran disability, more money for veteran something. And then what they end up doing is on the back end of that bill. So let's turn the table and say it's Republicans passing the bill. What they'll put on the back end of that bill is a wish list of stuff that they know the Democrats are never going to vote for, and it's because the whole bill in the first place was a gaslighting freaking exercise that they had no intention of passing, but they put all this garbage at the end, and the Dems do the same thing. They pass a veterans bill, and on the end they put all kinds of crazy stuff like Green New Deal and whatever, and they know the other side is never going to vote for it. But then when they don't vote for it, then they go on TV and go, they just voted against, a veterans bill, and this and that. Single subject bill fixes that. Because if you make a veterans bill, it can only be about veterans. Like, this is something I feel like the founders should have handled, but like people weren't as dubious then, right? That's
Right.
what it is. Like, there's just some stuff
Well,
that, like, no matter what they do, they
let's
get
go.
creative.
Let's go back to your point, because you got away from a point that you were driving at, and you
Not
said,
me.
"Let's." Huh? No, never you. It's the only reason I'm here, is to keep you in check. Look. So let's go back to the point you were driving at, because I was interested in where you were going, and then you kind of lost me. No. But you were
Well,
saying, all
that's
right,
not hard.
let's look at this as post convention of states, right? And the impact of post convention of states, right? That's what you were saying. That's what you were driving at. Let's take a look at post convention of states, and what's that impact look like?
At what? At the Sorry, I was moving a comment over. Post
So
convention of states, you said?
yeah, so you were driving at, in post convention of states,
Yeah, so
we've
my
had
point
it,
with that.
something's passed, and then
Right.
that's when you start explaining all the
Sorry,
different
sorry.
parts of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But
So I wasn't gonna say much after that. All I was gonna say is that we're like, that's just gonna make history. Like, that was the only point I was trying to make with that. Is it's gonna make history. Imagine the world done with that. Imagine all the sweeping changes that come in. Imagine everything that gets. Imagine everything that the entire country goes back on a path to its original ideals, but with the beauty of all the lessons learned along the way of the great experiment, right? So it's not like to the person who wants to make the argument like, oh, you want to go back to 77-6, so now you want slavery, blah, blah, blah. No, we are where we are now, so now we have the benefit of having gone through all those struggles, but that doesn't poison the ideals, right? So now we get the fiscal responsibilities back, we get the individualism back, we get the opportunity back, we get the lack of federal involvement in our life back. And those changes will make such a drastic difference that 250 years from now, they will be teaching that in school, of the great moment, the way it'll be bigger than the way we talk about the greatest generation now. Like, it'll be bigger and more impactful than even that, because this is a war that's different than any other kind of war that we've fought. It can't be won on the ground. It can't be won. You could give your life. It's not going to win the war. Like, in the end, this is a war of unity. Like, this is a war where we truly, as opposed to fighting for the Constitution, we're fighting with the Constitution, and it's a different animal that we're up against. And like, the massive changes that are going now, mind you, the country changed drastically after World War II. So it's not like it's not like there weren't hugely impactful changes after World War II. But the changes that are going to take place, some of them were bad, but the changes that are going to take place after something like this are on an epic level. Like, this addresses all the problems that for decades on end Americans have always felt we cannot fix. Like,
and
this is why I don't get off the path. This is why I just stay dialed in, and I'm like, I'm not getting into these other solutions. Like, it's all about Article 5,
to
because
me, the
once it
most
gets done, the rest are easy.
yeah, so to me, the most significant outcome out of post convention of states is that people understand that they do have power. I am so
Yep.
tired of seeing comments about, oh, there's nothing we can do, or listening to people complaining about everything that's wrong, but not
Yeah.
looking at taking any action. Well, you know what? The other side, while we're sitting busy complaining or fighting over skin color or other stupid shit, They're planning, and they have a much bigger view. And it's time that we raise our view. It's time that we get up on the hill and change our perspective. So we're not looking up from the valley. We're up on top of the mountain and taking a look and recognizing that collectively we have a tremendous amount of power and we can do something. I don't care what passes through the Convention of States, just one thing, and it'll be enough to light a fire that won't go out for God knows how long. I'd like to
Yep.
think never, but that's
But that's the
never
thing,
going to
Jack.
happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're gonna look, like they're gonna look at the generation that got this done, and it ain't gonna be Y and Z, right? So in the end, the people getting this done, really, the crux of them are Generation X and baby boomers. Like that's the crux, and honestly, and millennials. Like they're people, because we call everybody a millennial now. Like people do that, like, oh, these millennials, but like they forget, like Ben Shapiro's a millennial. like like a lot of these people, a lot of these top conservative speakers today are millennials. Like the actual age group of millennials is actually goes back further than what most people, because the term is so easy to tag when you're dealing with a Generation X person, or you're dealing with a, or not Generation X, Generation Y or Z. Like people easily just throw the millennial tag on, but like there are plenty of millennials. Like the millennials weren't totally lost. Gen Y and Z might be totally lost. Like we may have lost them, and if Yuri Bezmenov is right, like there's no saving them once they're lost. Then I personally believe there is. Like I point to the walkaway movement as evidence that you can wake up. But like in the end, it's got to be yourself. Like there's nothing I'm going to tell you that's going to, like, if you're one of those people who like believes that it's a legitimate thing that men can have babies and that men should be swimming in these races and these athletic events with women, and like if you're a person who believes in all that stuff, like you've got to save yourself. Like I can't, there's nothing you, I, or anyone else is going to tell that person to convince them that everything they've learned in their life was complete nonsense. Like they may get older and realize it, as I have with the Patriot Act and with the war in Iraq, and I can go back to all the nonsense I believed, and turns out was, it turns out what the people warning me against it were right. Like those people were always around, and now I find myself being that guy. So you know,
Hey,
I
George.
don't know what's going on. Who cares about is this person like just being racist out here, or are they like they keep using the word, they keep like, who cares about it? I don't know. I'm not even gonna give it. If there's something, it's on. If someone wants to look at Jude, it's on Twitch though. So I think only Evan is on Twitch with her. She's just saying some wacky stuff. I put one up by accident and I realized what she was saying. I was like, what the hell? But like, if that means something that I'm not getting, then let me know. But like, they're spelling it weird. Do you see what I'm seeing, Jack?
No,
All
I
right.
see the one that
So
says Joe Biden has no intention of finding a
yeah,
peaceful
yeah, no, that's on
resolution.
the screen. You have to look in the chat box, in the actual chat box.
Oh,
All
oh,
right.
got it.
So here's a baby boomer right here. Carol's like, I'm a baby boomer. Yep, 1956. That would definitely be a boomer. Yep, no doubt about that. And here we go. We got, oh, it's Carol again. I relate. I'm an RCA, a veteran, 36 years, served with many American military. Yeah, and look, World War II was the greatest generation. Like I was always careful before I would say that, but I'm 100% comfortable with it now, because as much as I love World War II vets and that whole generation, like that's how big this is. Right, like that's how big this is. That if this actually goes through, no one's storming the beaches in Normandy, no one's doing that kind of thing. But it's almost it it's on the same level, in a sense that the challenge of turning someone's mind, who's been mass formated, and has been, what did Yuri call it, has gone through active measures, they're demoralized, right?
Yeah,
Like the challenge of
demoralization.
turning somebody back around from that is almost impossible from a psychological standpoint. So the idea that you can pull together with a good 30% of the country totally zombied out, and celebrating men, pregnant men emojis and stuff, like, it sounds stupid to talk about and even compare to something like storming Normandy, but like when it comes to saving the country, this is where my point is. Like it's not always about storming the beach, right? Like they stopped creating that type of war because they know they'll lose. You know what I mean? Like they know if it comes down to military, the United States is going to win. That's the whole point of this psyop. Like it's just a new age. But when it comes to saving the country, it goes down now the same way it goes down, and we're like, just like we'd all be speaking German if they didn't pull it off. You know, we'll all well, I don't know, Klaus, right? We'll all be talking, like this. Right? Like, the the world will be a different place when when this goes down if we let it, and I have no intention of letting it. So that's my only point there. And then all right. So I mean, we've gone over the hour. I mean, look, we did the first portion. For anyone who missed the beginning of this, like we talked about digital currency, we talked about the Great Reset, and I kind of just to end it, I guess, and I feel like we should go back to the digital currency point in case anybody came on later. You know, this is all a part, right? It's all lined up with the same. And if you haven't seen, go check out our monetary. We had a discussion on monetary theory, modern monetary theory. It will definitely open your eyes to how a lot of the crazy spending and things like that happen. How something like digital currency can even be a thing. I had somebody comment and ask me, "Is digital currency going?" If like they didn't understand, they're like, "If we go all digital currency, wouldn't that take the wealth away? If we made the dollars worthless, wouldn't that take away the wealth from the wealthy?" And I had to kind of explain like, no, modern monetary theory, they're going to control all the cash. So like they don't have to worry about how much they make or earn. They're just going to print it. They're just going to create it. And I hope everybody got the joke on my cover for this. Did you see the cover for this, Jack? Did you pay attention to it?
I did not.
All right. So on the cover for this event, and I'll have to. They're going to make me manually change it once this ends, and I take the ticker out and all that stuff. But there's a coin with Biden's face on it, and it says 0 cents because the man makes no sense. It was my little dig. I thought it was hilarious, but
What a
it's getting
cheap
overlooked.
shot.
But it's getting overlooked, and I'm like, damn it! I'm like, I thought it was so witty. I
You're a
thought I
witty
was so
guy,
smart.
George. Yeah.
I thought I was a
Well,
smart guy. I
pat
made a
yourself
joke.
on the back. Yeah,
I was gonna, I made it funny, and people they're not seeing it.
I know. Well, you're very advanced.
Yeah, right. It's just because I'm so smart, right? I
Yeah.
should join the WEF. Hey, just so you guys know, you know what I just learned? What's that guy? What's that congressman's name? He's a Republican congressman, Dan Crenshaw,
Oh, okay.
right? He's the guy with the patch,
With the
right?
patch.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew this, but so I was watching a video of him talking about the Great Reset and the WEF in general. And he really just dismissed the whole thing and kind of made a joke about it. It was like, whatever. And it made me curious. So I'm like, all right, if this guy is like a conservative, patriot-minded person, and he completely dismisses the Great Reset, I'm like, what's his like real position? Like, why would he do that? Like, and then I started thinking, well, he's pretty young, so I'm like, this guy's like in his early 30s, I think. I'm like,
Mm.
so then I go back and I start looking up and like WEF, Dan Crenshaw, whatever. And sure enough, he actually, so if you ever hear this man speak on the Great Reset and try to blow it off or dismiss it, this guy was named one of their young future leaders back in 2019. So like he
Oh
actually,
my God.
yeah, so he's on there like he's which blew me away. Like I never look, he's a politician, so I always take stuff they say with a grain of salt. But his first impression of me was like, well, this guy's a veteran, he's this and that, like he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders and blah blah blah. But then when I heard that, I was like, it's just how I live now, right? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would he why would he be saying no big deal, nothing to see here? Clearly there's a big deal and there's something to see here. So I'm like, and I'm starting to look at all politicians this way now because there are Republicans who are in this camp. It's not like they only infected the Democrat politicians. Like there are absolutely Republicans went to the same woke ass schools that the rest of these coconuts that the AOCs went to. She didn't even go to school, right? She was a bartender or whatever. But anyway, they went to this. They had the same, and even in high school, and like they went through the same stuff. So like plenty of these psychos, grew up and they've all been groomed as well, and they just thought they were being patriotic and ran as a Republican. But like, I would guess there's even more of them who knew damn well what they were doing, and just fought, did a whole fall thing for their campaign, and then now they're in, and it's like, now what, right? Like now they're there. What are you gonna do? And I am now convinced, is one like that's all it took to convince me. Like I'll never listen to another word that this guy says ever. Like I just
He's in the
wanted to
tank.
yeah, that's
Yep.
that's what I got, when I saw it was like, and yeah, and Ruben Rodriguez said he's looking like a rhino. Yeah, he is. Yeah, and I don't even think he's a rhino, Ruben. I think he's worse than that. Like when I saw him come up associated with WEF, and I saw the interview where he dispelled it, I wasn't even thinking rhino. I was thinking this guy's just playing on the wrong team. Like, because I've said this a million times. I don't see Republicans and Democrats. I see Marxists and I see Americans. So when I decide, and it's not that when I say I see Americans, I don't mean, oh, a Marxist in America, American citizen is not an American. I mean, there's two teams. There's people who love America and there's people who hate it. And without any middle ground, if you're with the WEF, you even entertain the idea, because he knows it's not like he's a sitting congressman. He knows damn well these people aren't that. They seem stupid, but they're not that stupid. They know. So if he's for them, that means he's against us. Like that's the way I see it. Like if you're for the WEF, you are against the American people, really, of the people of the world. And so now for me forever, this dude is in that category. And I can't see him any other way. I just thought that was worth throwing out there as we're walking off, because it happened just yesterday and I was so blown away by it that I was like, what the f. And it is what it is. But like, and Ruben says he made more money in the stock market than anyone except Pelosi. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, and that's the kind of stuff, because it's so connected, right? It's so connected. Like, if you're in with these WEF people, it's not like Klaus Schwab is cutting you a check, but it's like now you're in with all the execs at Larry Fisk at BlackRock, and like at all the rest of these coconuts and doo-doo-doos that are out there with their swimming in their gold. Like now you're in their friggin' world, and it's like, the Harvards and all that. Like, oh, you need to go to Harvard? No problem. You're in the club. Oh, you need to go? You're in the club. Don't worry. Like that's the kind of that's why I always highlight the difference between money and power, because having the power is more important than having the money, right? Money brings some power, but as you're learning with Elon Musk, there's a limit to how much power money can bring. Like now, they're starting to go after Tesla. They're starting to audit, they're starting to audit SpaceX. They're sticking it to him because he got his medium to high risk on ESG scores. So now they're going to start messing with it with his credit and stuff like that. Like that's what power is. Like they can do that to the richest. All the money in the world can't stop these people from doing that to him. Right? Like but what's good about Elon so far is he has pretty much zero F's to give. So I mean, he's just like, all right, yeah, do it, and we'll So Rob says, what about Dr. Oz? I don't really. I heard Dr. Oz is running for office in Pennsylvania. Like I'm not fully on that story. Are you aware of that, Jack? Like what that's all about?
I have no
And like
idea.
Trump was like, I think Trump supported him or like got behind him, but then he lost anyway. And like that's what I heard. I think it was actually, yeah, I think it was my brother that told me that story. So and like, and I don't really, I mean, look, I look at Pennsylvania as a red state. I always have, not always, but I have since 2020 election. Like I look at Pennsylvania as a red state. Like I 100% believe that it is. The more I hear come out of Pennsylvania, the more it validates how I feel about it. And like I sat and I listened to like a 2 hour thing with Mark Meckler in Pennsylvania. It wasn't a committee hearing. It was just a roundtable that they had because this gun advocate was like, I guess he's really powerful in Pennsylvania politically. He'd been stopping convention of states, and so Meckler was able to get this roundtable scheduled where their House committee or whatever committee it was. Every state's different. There's always an initial committee that passes something to let it go to a vote, and so they let them debate. And I'm watching the committee members, and I'm like, it was weird because everyone in the room was a gun supporter, and like they were arguing about someone trying to knock out the Second Amendment. But when you listen to all the people that were elected in that room, like they were all red, all of them. Like they were all conservative, patriot minded. Like there wasn't one do Marxist amongst a bunch of them, And I'm just like, and then you look at the fact that they went for Trump in 2016, and then we all know what happened in 2020. But like now they've passed committee for convention of states. We're looking for them to be this year. So, you know, I just see them, but I don't really know the full story of Oz, or I would get more into that. Unless you know it.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
All right. So I'm going to just knock out the rest of these comments here, and then we're going to call it a day. That's so right. If you're WEF, you're not with us. Yeah. Yeah. You're either with them or you're with us. But I'm in the middle. There's no middle ground here. These people are trying to take over the world. I don't have patience for that. Ruben Rodriguez. So Rothschild money makes Elon pocket change. Yeah. I don't, I don't know if you're saying like the Rothschilds are buying Elon or how that works. Oh, you're saying it makes Elon's pocket look like pocket change?
Yeah,
I think
that's what he's
what you're
saying.
saying. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It does. It does. The Rothschilds are in the trillions, and we all play games like, oh, Jeff Bezos is the richest man. No, Elon's the richest man. No, this Saudi Arabian prince is the richest man. It's like, no, the
Yeah.
Rothschilds. It's
Yeah.
all the money is in the Rothschilds' house. It's under the mattress, and it's a very, very big mattress. So Ruben Rodriguez, Oz is a rhino. Yeah, I mean, I don't see. I've only seen him in small spurts on like random clips of like old Oprah shows. Like I don't even know what this guy is all about and what his position is, but I never once took him to be a Republican, right, Jack? You know who Dr. Oz is, right?
I
Uh,
do.
yeah, he's like a celebrity. Like I never. So Ruben's saying it's too close to call. So they're apparently still going at it, I guess, in that race. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know. And then Sheila says, "Can you see my comments?" Yeah, did I miss you, Sheila? Did I? Sorry, I'm trying to produce and and speak and stay conscious of what else is being said, and so. But I do see your comment now. So it's there are too many for me to scroll back. I apologize if I missed anything. If I missed anything throughout, my bad. But Jack, so any final words for everybody? I just leave off saying thank you guys for all the new followers. Welcome aboard. If we can keep up at this pace, we'll be over 10,000 in no time.
Yeah, and I too would like to thank everybody, and I think the significance of getting over 10,000 is important in terms of the content and driving the message, really expanding expanding our reach.
Yeah, we're not monetized, folks. So like I pay for me and Jack, we pay for everything.
Yeah,
So like this is all an expense to me. I pay a few $100 a month in subscription services for video editing and things like that. Like this is all us just being
that's
passionate
all
about the
us.
cause. With
We
that being
buy our
said,
own
we're still
T-shirts.
capitalist. Yeah, we
We're the
buy our
only
own
ones buying
t-shirts.
our own T-shirts, George.
This is true.
Right?
This is true. So,
we both
but
we both have
hey, look,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we both have a dozen T-shirts, so that means we have 2 dozen sales in our store.
Hey, that's not true. My mom bought two. So,
Your
but
mom did,
but that
yeah.
but that being said, we're supporting this channel. We pay for it to come up. Yeah, we're capitalists. I'd love to monetize the channel, but really, What's more important at this point is the number of followers, the number of subscribers, the number of people engaged, the number of people jumping on live streams, the number of people engaging, asking questions. Article 5 is a crazy thing, and it's like, when I say it's a crazy thing, I mean there's a lot of information out there trying to confuse the hell out of you, and it's important that you get it straight. And like the stuff that we'll give you and the places that we'll send you, will be to source information. Like, go read Madison's notes, go read, Federalist Papers 40. You go, like, that's not true because here's what the founders said. Like, I'm not going to point you to articles. I'm not going to point you to some dude who's like, just cheerleading and whatever. And even when you go to Convention of States website, you're going to see that even when they call you, like, they don't just let you go run around and advocate. Like, you got to learn what you're talking about first. Like before you go and advocate on the organization's behalf. And I think this was a brilliant thing on their part. There's a series of videos you got to watch. There's a series of things. So and it's good because, and I watched them and I went through it, and it's not, it's not a 6-week course. It's just giving you a quick education or a refresh on the Constitution, so that when you do go out and these people do hit you with these false arguments, that you're ready. I'm kind of more at an advanced level than that right now, but that's because I've had a year to have these debates and these arguments and win people over. And yes, I do win arguments on the internet all the time on this topic, because there are a lot of good people out there, a lot of good patriotic people who, even though they've heard, that they're going to take the country, Soros likes this, all the other BS that's out there, even though they've heard all that, they're open-minded and willing to listen because they're not psycho-Marxist. So like the fact that they're open-minded and willing to listen allows me to give them the information. They take the information seriously, and it's not even that I win, because we all win. Right. Yeah. It's not even like I beat them in a debate. It's like, we both win. Like, they now understand it better. And I now have helped the country to get one more person to understand it better. And now maybe that person will get some, and the chain reaction begins. So on that note, Jack, you got anything else? We're 30 minutes over.
Yeah. I'm good for tonight, George. I'm looking forward to seeing your new series, and I'll be working on putting one out tomorrow, regarding the topic I mentioned earlier. So
perfect. All right, folks. Again, thank you for the subscribers. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, jump on there and give us a subscription. We are under 100 away from 1,000. So if you're not done that yet, get on there and do it. Until next time, we're out.
And like that,